Chapter 5.
Days came, and days went. At length the day of days wore around, Midsummer Day, Marimonia's birthday. As for myself, everything was in readiness prepared for the singular competition. Had received the previous night, from the most fashionable tailor, a flash suit of kaipuka tan-colored tweed, provided myself with a high-crowned broad-leafed Parisian silk hat, a gold watch chain, one of those massive cable patterns, patent leather high-heeled boots, an eyeglass, affecting a learned and decorous mien, besides all the several details which go to make up a young gentleman of, well, lofty aspirations and affluent means. Upon this morning, however, when everything was considered complete, a rift was discovered in the lute. I counted over my gold pieces before taking to the road, and could not for the life of me make out more than 9,501 all told, whereas, calculating from a former computation, I ought to have had the full 10,000, yet there was not anywhere the least thing disturbed around where I had them concealed, and neither my mother nor the maid, Marianta, had set eyes on any suspicious vagrant about. Finally, fearing that the worry over this misadventure might tell against my looks at the very crisis, which I eagerly desired to look my very top best, I resolved to disabuse my mind of the trouble. Shortly after doing so, and my natural composure restored, the thing at once dawned vividly on my mind that the counterpoise of lead tokens had, no doubt, been by the agency of the sprites subtracted. Notwithstanding the delay which this outward hitch had caused, by means of a light spring fly, I got to Wally Villa in sufficiently good time, where I at once discovered that 3 others, on the alike errand, had preceded me. All of them, I particularly notified, were furnished with great swelled-out, strong leather reticules. Prompt to the pre-arranged time, Marimonia's exacting papa appeared in the large drawing-room. He was a lanky-figured person with, as I thought then, a rapacious-looking countenance. The first of the aspirants who was called to show the validity of his claim was a dumpy ball of a man, bordering seemingly on 60 years, wearing a foreign expression, named Silas, and who wretchedly stuttered with his words. Here, he said, Mimimis Mester Gra grasp cute British English enge. What I come to do for your shoo sweet child. Mr. Silas then placed upon the table £220 notes, in addition to scrip of the Taranaki Aluminium Electrical Extracting Company, rated as equivalent in the share market to £8,000. When Mr. Breenge had satisfied himself of the number and of the genuineness of the notes, he took hold of the scrip in his hand, looked it over and, with a depreciative wag of the head, exclaimed, accompanied by a loud fillip of the finger,
"Woo, assuredly and positively, separately and collectively, not worth a snap."
The next was a gentleman all the way from Tasmania, with the name of Triton Salter on his card, who put in a letter of credit for the modest sum of £500, but with documents setting forth his proprietary rights in Mount Huxley, which were estimated at 40 millions.
"This letter of credit which you have first here presented, I can very well believe to be genuine,"
remarked the wily sire.
But, as for the proprietary documents, woo, assuredly and positively, separately and collectively, not worth a snap.
Noxy Fob, Marimonia's terrible giant, was next in order called to see what he could do, by way of backing his pretensions. Anon, Noxy drew from his sable bag, money of mixed kinds, altogether totting up to £9,500, aside, I said, exactly £1 below mine, with a list of shares that he was prepared to give, I thought he said, as a lateral settlement, which he held in the Poniocrom and Plumbago Company.
"This liquid specie now before me, is indeed highly satisfactory, very, very gratifying indeed, and in all probability may carry the day, Mr. Fob, but, as for these papers, you might just as well have left them in your desk, for assuredly and positively, separately and collectively, woo, they're not worth a snap."
Knox's heavy eyebrows fell a little at this latter clause of the speech.
"Now, My conceited little fellow,
said Marimonia's paternal parent, turning towards me.
What's it that you've got to show? Out with it. I presume, a savings bank passbook with an old packing case shanty or two when some of your friends are gone, perhaps the value of one of my old nags.
Oh, how I boiled. But soon a sudden change came upon the faces of the lot of them on my coming to cover more than half of the large table with my pieces of gold. Their looks, at this supreme instant, would have made an interesting photo, and counted there from 9,501 current sovereigns of the realm. After recovering from the stupor, which not unnaturally this wonderful surprise threw them all into, Mr. Breenge briefly intimated that the award was mine.
Only a couple more pounds, Mr. Fob,
he said, with a wicked twinkle in his deep-set eyes.
And you now have stood in different shoes. It can't be helped, my dear sir, better luck the next time, there's no getting away, you see, from the highest bid, and, at the same time, you must acknowledge much the most desirable currency.
Then the gigantic Noxie Fob waxed most irrationally wrathful, and, with a livid visage, swore by everything that he could get his tongue around, that he would leave no stone unturned to upset the marriage.
You,
he said, sharply turning round and facing me.
You conceited parcel of nothing badly put together. I'll chuck you, I will, a gunshot length out there into the sea, and what then, my precious little puppy, can you do?
I answered, I can then swim ashore.